Patricia Hargrove. The president of our HOA shoved my wife so hard she tumbled down our porch stairs. Her cry cut through the cul-de-sac like a gunshot, neighbors frozen in shock, nobody daring to move. 3 minutes later, 5 military convoys rolled through the gates, and that's when I knew this wasn't just about fines or forms. This was war. Act 1. The conflict begins. My name's Daniel Mercer, retired Army logistics consultant, 20 years of writing safety protocols, making sure structures stood when lives depended on it. And yet here I was standing on the porch, my father and I built with our own hands, being told by Patricia that it was unsafe. She didn't just hand me a violation notice. She smiled like she'd won something, tapping her pearl necklace as if that proved authority. She claimed our porch needed immediate remediation fines, starting now, daily penalties racking up. And as she said it, my wife Emily was still clutching her hip from the shove Patricia had just given her. Now let me be clear. That porch wasn't just lumber and nails, it was the last place my father sat before cancer took him. Every bolt tightened with precision, every board reinforced with steel brackets. When Patricia called it unsafe, she wasn't just threatening wood and concrete, she was trying to erase him. I took one step closer, lowering my voice. You really want to put your name on this complaint? The state inspector who signed it off still works for the county. Should I call him right now? For the first time I saw a tiny crack in her armor. Her smirk faltered, her hand fiddled with the pearl at her throat. She wasn't expecting resistance, not from me. She'd gotten too used to people folding, paying fines, keeping quiet. Neighbors stood at the edge of their driveways pretending to check their mail, pretending not to stare. But I could feel their eyes, waiting, testing me. Patricia leaned in, her voice sharp. This isn't about your father. It's about safety. If you don't comply, the board will send contractors to tear it down at your expense. I'll see to it personally. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. Funny thing about safety, I said, folding her notice neatly and sliding it back toward her. It's measurable, documented, certified. And I've got every signature I need to prove you're bluffing. Her jaw clenched, her eyes narrowed. She wanted escalation. I gave her silence. And in that silence I promised myself she wasn't just messing with me anymore. She had no idea who she'd just shoved too far. Act 2. Escalation and the turning point. The next morning I walked to the lakeside park where neighbors usually fished or walked their dogs. I needed answers, and boy did I get them. An older man told me Patricia fined him $2,000 for a shed that had stood 20 years. A single mom got cited for weeds that turned out to be wildflowers her daughter planted for school. A younger couple said she threatened to tow their car because it wasn't luxury enough for community standards. Every story had the same undercurrent: fear. They weren't paying fines because they were guilty. They paid because they were exhausted. Patricia had weaponized exhaustion. I listened. I asked questions. I took notes. But inside, doubt was eating me alive. Emily was still limping around the house. The neighbors, even when they admitted the truth, looked skeptical when I spoke about pushing back. And for a moment, I wondered if I was the problem. Maybe I was too stubborn, too proud. Maybe Patricia was right. Maybe this fight wasn't worth it. Maybe I should just pay the fines, tear down the porch, and move on. But then I remembered Emily's cry when she hit the concrete. I remembered my father leaning on that railing telling me, "Build it strong, son. Strong enough to last after I'm gone." And just like that, the doubt hardened into resolve. That's when Mara Jensen walked into my life. She was on the board. She'd seen Patricia's methods up close. At first she was terrified to even talk to me, eyes darting to the cafe door like Patricia might burst in. But eventually she whispered the truth. Patricia had been holding closed-door meetings, rewriting rules without votes, even threatening her kids if she didn't fall in line. Her hands trembled on her coffee cup, but her voice cracked with both fear and anger. She told me if I crossed her, she'd make sure my kids didn't belong here. Who says that about children? That was the moment I knew. Patricia wasn't just cruel, she was dangerous. The final push came days later. The HOA plastered emergency safety orders all over the community bulletin boards. Bold red ink. Daily penalties tripled. Contractors authorized to enter without permission. Immediate liens on homes if residents refused. I tore one down, and there it was, the smoking gun. Patricia had signed it herself. No council, no municipal approval, not even a real statute. She cited Section 18 to 24 of County Safety Code, a law that doesn't even exist. I almost laughed. She'd invented an entire statute out of thin air. That night I measured every inch of that porch again. Railing height, post anchors, steel brackets. Documented everything with photos and timestamps. And when I finished, I compiled it all into a binder. Medical records of Emily's injuries. Doorbell footage from a neighbor that caught Patricia shoving her. Proof of Patricia's fake statutes. For the first time since this began, I wasn't just angry. I was confident. Mara finally confessed more. Patricia had siphoned HOA funds into hidden accounts, bullied residents until they sold, bragged about improving property values. Enough was enough. I took my binder to an old Army contact now working at the county's Emergency Operations Center. I laid everything on the table. He flipped through page after page, his jaw tightening. "Mercer, you know this isn't just a neighborhood spat. She's fabricating statutes. That's criminal. But if I greenlight this, it won't just be inspectors. It'll be full convoys, training units, law enforcement. Once they roll in, it's out of your hands. You sure you want that?" I thought of Emily's bruise, Mara's trembling hands, the old man with the shed, the single mom. "I'm sure." He nodded slowly. "Then Patricia's done. She just doesn't know it yet." And that's how the clock started ticking. 48 hours until the convoys arrived. Act 3. The climax. The morning of, I stood at the subdivision gates, binder tucked under my arm, my pulse steady. The gate guard looked nervous. He'd clearly been warned. "You can't just already above you," I said, showing him the authorization email on my phone. "Joint inspection exercise. Orders direct from the state." He hesitated, then pressed the button. The barrier arm lifted slow and deliberate, like the opening act of a verdict. Neighbors on their morning walks paused, whispering, phones out. They could feel it too. Something big was coming. That's when Patricia rolled up in her black SUV, pearls glinting in the sun, heels clicking as she stepped out. She crossed her arms, smirk sharp as a blade. "Really? Daniel, dramatic entrances, threats of inspectors. Do you ever get tired of pretending you matter here?" I didn't flinch. "You'll have company soon. And for once you won't be running the show." Her laugh was brittle. "You think a few complaints and some theatrics will change anything. You have no idea how this board works." "I don't need to," I said. "The law works just fine." And right then the low rumble hit. Engines, heavy, synchronized. 5 olive drab convoys, 2 state inspection vans, a police cruiser. Rolling straight through the gates. Neighbors swarmed closer, phones raised high. Patricia's smirk wavered. For the first time, she looked uncertain. Inside the community center, every seat was full. Folding chairs packed wall to wall, neighbors standing along the walls. The lead inspector took the mic. "Lakewood Shores has been selected for a joint compliance exercise. We'll be reviewing HOA procedures, enforcement actions, and code adherence. Any residents with evidence, present it now." I stood, binder in hand, walked to the front. "My name is Daniel Mercer, retired Army. My porch was cited under fabricated statutes. My wife was assaulted by the HOA president. I have medical records, video evidence, and measurements proving full compliance." Gasps, murmurs, neighbors leaning forward. The inspector flipped through my binder, nodding. "Accepted for review." And then the twist Patricia didn't see coming. From the back of the room, Mara Jensen stood. Her hands shook, but her voice carried. "I'm on the board. Patricia's been issuing fines and orders without votes. She's threatened residents. She even told me she'd come after my kids if I spoke out." The room erupted. Shouts, gasps, phones recording everything. Patricia leapt to her feet, finger trembling as she pointed. "Lies. She's unstable. She's bitter." The inspector cut her off. "Mrs. Hargrove, please sit. Do you have documentation supporting your enforcement orders?" Patricia fumbled with her clipboard. Papers shuffled. Nothing. No votes, no signatures, no proof. The silence was deafening. The inspector closed my binder with a decisive thud. "Based on the evidence presented, your orders are invalid. Further investigation will address financial misconduct and potential criminal charges." Applause. Cheers. neighbors rising to their feet. Patricia's face twisted, her smirk shattered. Law enforcement flanked her, guiding her toward the door as she clutched her useless clipboard. For the first time, she wasn't in control. For the first time, the community had hope. Final beat. I stood outside the community center binder, heavy in my arms, the sun dipping low over the lake. Emily's bruise, Mara's confession, every bogus fine, it had all led to this. Patricia had ruled with fear, but fear collapses when you shine a light on it.